I was recently asked by somebody, can you really make a full-time living exclusively selling health and beauty and makeup, cosmetics, those types of things? So in this video, I'm going to just give you my experience and some of the things that I feel like are pitfalls and challenges and how I've had to deal with them selling in this category, exclusively in this category over the last couple of years. So let's go. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. For those of you who this might be your first time, my name is Eddie and this is Hustle and Grow, where we talk all things business and mostly right now reselling, since that's my main business. In this video, I got a lot of things I want to go over pertaining specifically because I was asked, can you make a full-time living selling health and beauty and cosmetics? And the reason the person asked this is because they realized that a lot of the items, yeah, they do have a fast sell-through, but the margins aren't that high, right? And the ones that are high, it's kind of hard to get. So I'm gonna go over some of that. I've been reselling for years now, probably consistently for the last like 3 or 4 years. I started my eBay account back in 2012, but I really wasn't, I only dabbled for a minute, then turned it back on back in like 2016. But I've been kind of, turning it up now the last 3 years or so. In the last 2 years, my main focus has been health and beauty exclusively. I kind of narrowed it down to kind of make my life a little bit easier. So what I'm going to give you, and there's a lot of things, man. So if I miss something, or if you have a specific question you want to ask that I might not have covered or that I might not go into too much depth on, you can ask in the comments below, and I'll either, depending on the question and what type of answer it might require, I'll either answer it right there in the comments, or I'll make a quick video, maybe a short or quick video answering the question, or get all the questions together. But there are some things that you have to know about this specific category, okay? And let me see, I wrote down some stuff. This is talking points so I don't forget. Now, the reason why I chose to specifically focus in on health and beauty, there's a couple reasons. One, I started off like everybody else, selling a little bit of this and a little bit of that. Nothing wrong with that at all. I found out that I didn't like selling clothes. Okay, so I kind of got away from that. Electronics is cool. I like selling electronics, but I got kind of tired of dealing with that whole testing it. One person I think do a good job or has a pretty good business with that type of stuff is how you say his channel name, Paleo Tech. He got a pretty big store. And how I just don't want to deal with it. I don't know, a lot of testing, there's things that I don't want to deal with, but if I had to, I would, right? If it meant like the survival of my business, I would just have to adapt and adjust. But coming down to cosmetics, it was just more a matter of, for me, what did I like to do? I like to sell cosmetics, actually. I like it. Not that I like to wear makeup or nothing like that, but I'm just saying, like, I don't know, I just like it, I just like it. And then you got like a lot of good smells and shit like that. And me, I got like a huge cologne collection, so like I'm a scent type of guy. But anyway, most of the stuff is easy to ship, most of it. You got some bigger things that are, require a little packing. And I don't know, I just like it. So I gravitated towards it. There was also the issue of just some of the things you had to deal with as far as V-rolls and things like that, so on and so forth. But selling health and beauty, I found out, wasn't that much better when it comes to those things. All right, so let's start off with this part. Can you make a full-time living selling exclusively health and beauty and cosmetics? Now, the answer to that, of course, is yes. The market is saturated. There's a lot of people selling it, but there's a way that you can do it, okay? Now, for me, what I found out is, number one, you do have to do volume, right? You do, because a lot of the items sell fast, but the profit margins are smaller, okay? And it's going to depend on what platform you sell on. eBay, Amazon, Walmart. Walmart's a little bit newer to the game, so a lot of y'all probably ain't on there, and it's a little bit harder to get on there than it would be on eBay and Amazon. But the volume game is the name of the game. Now you can structure your business in a few ways, and this is kind of what I've been doing. So you can do strictly volume, where you're doing smaller margin items that move really quick, but you got to sell thousands and thousands of units, right? And honestly, that stuff is fairly easy to get. And that's one of the things I like about it too. It's almost like clothes in that aspect, except the average sale price for these things items are smaller than probably a lot of the average sale price for clothes, but it don't take up as much space. So like my consideration is like space. I can fit thousands and thousands and thousands of units more than clothes, and still make, the same amount when it comes to average sale price. But you can structure it that way, or you can have the type of business where you're doing, I guess higher average sale price types of items, more luxury type brands and things like that. The problem with that is this: those exclusive brands, you can get yourself in trouble a lot faster. Brands like Revlon, Maybelline and them, yeah, you can definitely get in trouble. I'm sure in the past they've given out zeros on eBay and IP complaints on Amazon and things like that. But for the most part, they don't bother average resellers. You probably will have to be doing millions of dollars in revenue for them to kind of come and start messing with you. But those higher exclusive brands, man, those are the brands that you kind of can get in trouble with, because a lot of times those are the ones that's counterfeited the most. Nobody's going to really counterfeit a Maybelline lipstick or some makeup palette. But you start talking about some of the other ones, I can't think of them right now, but there's just a lot of brands out there that on Amazon especially, you can get yourself in trouble with IP complaints. And on eBay, you can definitely, not saying you can't sell them, but if you want to base your business around those things, that's a very risky proposition. Very risky proposition. And me personally, I would not base my whole business on those types of brands. I just wouldn't. I don't mind putting them in here and there, and I even do have some that I kind of mix in, but I don't know. I just don't do it. It's too risky. So what I do is I try to just sell thousands and thousands of units of the lower average sale price items, and I work on mixing in over time items that have a higher average sale price. And now we're talking about things anywhere from your lotions and creams and skin creams and hair products, skin products, eye products, like all types of stuff, right? Makeup. So like there's a wide variety of items, and you have to go wide instead of deep. And I'm gonna make a video on this too, because I went deep on a couple items and I'm really regretting it at this point because I'm losing money on those. And I'm gonna share that with y'all because it's just something that you need to know about. And I'm not saying that every item was, and these are items that were doing fairly decent, and then the prices just tanked. Prices tanked, man, and it sucks. But when you go a little more wider and you get more of a variety, even if a couple items do tank, you can still absorb that, So yeah, the name of the game is volume. You have to be willing to do volume. And then when you think about volume, you can do that in a few ways, right? You can do it all right from your little warehouse. Like I got this space in here, fairly big unit. You can fit thousands and thousands of units, like box per box. You just get a lot of stuff in here. You can do all the shipping and fulfillment yourself, right? At some point, you will probably have to hire, depending on what your revenue goals are, you have to hire somebody. I'm kind of like at that point where I might want to hire somebody, but I really don't yet. And the only reason is that I feel like I need to do everything that I can do first before I go out and hire somebody. And what that means is, if there's things that I can do, like if I can get up earlier, if I can streamline some of my systems even more, I want to get it to where the point where, all right, I'm getting up early, I streamline my systems as much as I could, and I'm still like taking all day to ship, then I feel like I need somebody. But if it comes down to, oh, well, I can get up an hour or two earlier, or I can make this a little bit more streamlined, I'm not going to hire nobody, because then that's kind of just like getting around, that's not the answer at that time. So, that's that. But you can hire somebody, and you can also, you can, when it comes to Amazon and Walmart, you can do fulfillment by Walmart, fulfillment by Amazon. So there's a lot of ways you can scale up without having to do all the work yourself. You know what I mean? You just got to realize that when you do those fulfillment by Walmart and Amazon, that's going to cut into your profit. So then that's where you kind of think to yourself, okay, where you can do an estimate as to how much more of my profit am I eating up by using those options, as opposed to if I just hired somebody. Because sometimes it might be cheaper to just do all the fulfillment yourself, and you can still get all your supplies and things like that and pay an employee. But when you do the breakdown, the cost will still be cheaper than Amazon. Like all you would do is just kind of take that total cost of the hire, and you would get the total cost estimate of all your supplies, and then you would just average that out. But then, that's a whole nother thing, man, and I ain't about to get into that. But, there's a way to figure out what would make more sense. And then it just comes down to preference at that point, right? But the name of the game, nonetheless, is volume. However you want to go about that, and you want to make it to where you have a lot of bread and butter type of items that move on a daily basis, that people don't mind buying multi quantities of, but you also want to throw in there those higher average sale price type of items, okay? It takes some work, but that's with anything, right? That's with any type of business. You just have to be willing to do the work, and it just depends on what you want to do. Look, I can tell you this right now, this ain't the type of model where you're going to have a $30, $40, $50 average sale price unless you're doing them higher luxury brands. And like I said, the only way I would do that model is if I could for sure get invoices from the companies themselves, man. I would have to get it directly from the manufacturer with invoices, because you are going to run into an issue where you're going to have to present those to one of these platforms. I guarantee it. At some point, if that's your business model, you're going to want to be doing, right? You're going to probably do hundreds of thousands of dollars or more. If you're making this your living, and somebody's going to put in a complaint on you, trust me, whether it's warranted or not, they're going to say it's fake. They're going to say something's going to happen, or the brand itself might put in the IP, whatever it is. I would not do that unless I could get directly from the manufacturer, and that's going to be difficult. Okay. So all that $30, $40, $50 average sale price, that's a pretty hard task, man. Is it impossible? No, but for the average person, that would be something you would have to work on over time. I think we're just talking about just kind of getting started, right? So volume, right? Multi-platform. And I already kind of went over that. You're definitely going to want to sell on multi-platforms, but you have to manage that properly as well. And I ain't talking about just your average type of cross posting. I wouldn't if I got a couple units or something, I wouldn't spread those out across multi-platforms. I would just choose the one that I think's either sold the fastest or I can get the most profit on, and just go from there. And if it didn't do good, then I might switch it. But I've had a lot of mistakes in the past by just trying to take a couple units and spread them across multiple platforms. But if you have a bunch of units or something, then you can kind of get away with that. I got a system where I put it in the SKU, and I tag the item so that I know it's cross-posted and where it's cross-posted to. And as the quantity kind of dwindles down, I just, kind of go from there and take it off those platforms. It's been working. I very rarely at this point oversell items and get in trouble like I used to. So it's been working for me. But multi-platforms for sure. And then some items, for whatever reason, as is the case with a lot of categories, they just move better on certain platforms. Hell, I got items right now that's selling fairly frequently on Mercari, which I really don't use Mercari much. But these items are selling fairly frequently on Mercari, and not even really selling on eBay. Go figure, right? But I got a lot of units of these items, and so I got them spread out over multi-platform. So it's working out, right? It's working out. So volume is the name of the game. And you want to, with that volume, look, guys, my average sell price is it fluctuates between like $8 to $12. And some of y'all might be like, well, damn, that ain't that much. But I get my cost of goods is so low where it's like $1 and some change most of the time, right? And these items, look, to have an $8 to $12 average sell price, you have to be selling a lot of items over that. Okay. And I do, but I'm moving like thousands and thousands of units too. So it does, it kind of works out. Like I said, if I want, and I'm always working to raise that, but then that's another thing is to where I am open to not just selling in this category and selling in or other types of items and other types of categories to raise that higher average sell price. But look, the bread and butter stuff is working. It's moving. I just have to move a lot of it. All right. That's cool. And now while I'm doing that, because the stuff is just easy to get. It's easy to get. Okay. But while I'm doing that, I'm always looking for things that I can add in that'll raise that sale price up. And so, it works out. So volume, multi-platforms, you got to be organized and systematized. Okay. You have to have systems in place and you have to be organized. Even if you're going to be doing like FBA, or fulfilled by Walmart or whatever. You still got to be organized and get everything into them and not have any issues. But for me, I want to maximize my profit, so I'll fulfill most of it myself at this point. And if I have to, kind of go to an employee, because I want to maximize my profits. I mean, we're talking about items that have a lower average sale price, so I don't want to give that money away. But I mean, maybe at some point it might make more sense. I don't know. I'll be always constantly evaluating my business in that sense. And then if it comes to a point where it makes sense to do more of one than the other, I am willing to make that adjustment. But organization and systemization is like, I can't even tell you how important that is, because when you start having to fulfill hundreds of orders on your own, okay, you cannot afford to be losing stuff, mixing stuff up, not being able to find stuff. Like, you have a bad day or a bad weekend, man, that could put your metrics into, you just don't want to do it, man. You just don't want to do it. And so over time, I've been able to kind of, and I got room for improvement. Trust me, I already know this. And I'm already thinking about some other types of changes to make. But I can find and pick items fairly quickly. I got these racks back here and I just got, but this is all larger stuff. Or like if I just have a bunch of something, right, I'll just throw it in a box and I'll just mark it as on a pallet rack. But that's fine. But like, because I have so much of like smaller items too, I've come up with systems on how to keep those things categorized, how to easily find them. And even though I have them cross-posted on multiple platforms, I very rarely run into issues with not finding items, mixing up items, and things of that nature. And so organization and systemization are of the utmost importance, man. You have to have something ready and in place, and you can't just be doing this thing like willy-nilly. You're talking, and look, we're talking about doing it at a level where you can make a living off of it. That was the whole start, the premise of this whole conversation in the first place is, can you make a living or not selling health and beauty? And of course you can, but if you have to do volume, that means you have to sell tens of thousands of units per year. Right? We ain't talking about a couple things here and there, which I kind of want to go into. I'm going to skip down. So we talked about the volume aspect, the multi-platform aspect, being organized and systemized. I want to go down to if you just starting out, should you make this your business model? Okay, just starting out. And there's some, and that answer kind of has, there's kind of like two answers to that, right? Yes and no. I'll say this. If you're going to start out and you're looking to make health and beauty your main category, you love selling it, whatever, you better have either a good amount of money to start with or a good connect, okay? Because your average supplier that you see on the internet and the things that you see on like YouTube, those ain't the places you really want to start out with, because those are the places where the items either won't sell for much. Yeah, they'll sell, but the average sale price is going to be pretty low and your margin is going to be pretty low, or it's just not worth it, right? So you have to be able to get a lot of product at once. And like I said, the chances of you getting those higher value items, just starting off from the bat, that's really slim to none, man. It's really slim to none. And if you just starting off anyway, you kind of don't want to put yourself in that predicament. And if you're starting off on those platforms, especially Amazon, you definitely don't want to put yourself in a situation where you get an IP complaint or an inauthentic claim. So you kind of got to play it safe and be smart about it. You know what I mean? And if you don't know what you're doing, you can get in trouble super fast. So if you just starting out, honestly, I would kind of like start off with, I would try to keep, because of the investment that I think it would take starting off and to make this your thing, unless you got those connections, start off with stuff around your house. Start off with, I know everybody say that, but it's true. Get a hang of it. But also start off with, yard sales and thrifting, man, because you can keep your cost of goods low, and maybe, yeah, you won't get health and beauty stuff, but you can build up capital, and maybe you'll find out you like that better. Maybe not. But you're gonna need capital. You're gonna need money, and I'm not saying you need tens of thousands of dollars to start. But what you need to understand is when you're doing things when you're selling in a category where your margins are a little smaller than a lot of other categories, then you need cash flow is even more important. Okay, cash flow is even more important because you don't have that higher cash reserve to help you if something goes wrong, right? And if you don't have a connection where you can get these items where they do sell for a higher average sale price, but your cost of goods is still low. If you don't have that starting off, you have to be smart about it. And being smart about it is, look, I'm going to take what cash I got. I'm going to buy these items maybe from the thrift, from these yard sales. And I'm going to build up my cash. That way, man, what if you got a bad pallet or a bad load or something, right? You don't want to put yourself in that situation where you kind of put yourself out of business before you even get your business started. And so I would not recommend that a beginner starting off do health and beauty solely as like your only business model, only thing. Do some other stuff, do some thrifting, do some yard sales, build up some cash. Don't go to the sites that everybody is on YouTube where you see all these unboxings and things like, look, business wise, like entertainment wise is cool. You'll make a couple dollars and things like that. But to run your business based on what these websites offer, a lot of time that you see on YouTube that people get stuff from, from my experience, it's not what you want to do, especially starting off. Now, maybe you can build a relationship with these suppliers to where maybe you can kind of get some other things from them. I've done that myself, right? You contact them and say, hey, I kind of looked at some of this other stuff. I'm really not interested in that, but do you have this, blah, blah, blah. And you can kind of work with people that way. But other than that, I would not recommend it if you're just starting off, because your cash flowing, you ain't gonna have enough cash flow. You're not. It's just not gonna be high enough. And if something go wrong, you won't have enough cash in reserve to cover, any situations, man. And like I said, if this is going to be full time, then unless you got money saved up, you can find yourself in a bind real fast. So my recommendation would be to not make this your only way of the only items to sell from the beginning, unless you have cash or a good supplier. And even suppliers, those things change, right? So kind of mix stuff up, build up your cash first, and then go from there, because this is a really good category to sell in, guys, and it's really profitable and lucrative, and it's evergreen, right? People want this stuff summer, spring, winter, fall, it doesn't matter. It's not like clothes where certain clothes might sell more or less depending on the season, or gardening or things like that, right? This is like one of those things where if a woman wants some lipstick, it don't matter what time of the year it is, right? If a woman wants a certain type of skin cream, don't matter what time of the year for the most part, right? Unless it's some type of like sunscreen or something, but doesn't really matter, like a blush or something like, like this mineral powder right here, right? Don't matter if it's winter, summer, spring, or fall, right? This is going to sell. For the most part, like it doesn't matter. The season doesn't affect a lot of this stuff. And that's another thing that I like about it. But it's all about suppliers, and just starting off, you probably won't know who those suppliers are or how you can get in contact with them. That's going to take some learning, okay? And the ones that people show you on YouTube, for the most part, those ain't the ones, man. Trust me, those ain't the ones, okay? All right, so we talked about volume, we talked about multi-platform, how important it is to be organized and systemized, and how important it is that if you're just starting out, some of the things that you can run up against, and why you should not make this your sole model, your only model in the beginning, because of cash flow problems that you might run into due to lower margins, okay? Now, let's talk about these platforms, eBay versus Amazon and Walmart. Now, if this is your only model, each platform presents its challenges, right? eBay and Amazon, a lot of us already know about the challenges we face on these platforms. A lot of y'all don't know about Walmart because most people don't sell on Walmart at this point, which I'm thankful for, honestly. But Walmart has its challenges as well, but at this current juncture in time, it's a lot more profitable than the other two in a lot of the types of items I sell. So on Amazon, you got the price tanking that goes on in this category a lot. So you can take a profitable item that was doing really well, and it just, man, in the New York minute, that's man, you hit bottom quick. And that's what happened on two of these items that I spent a good amount of money on, and I'll tell y'all about in another video. But Here's what I would say you would have to do. And this isn't taking into consideration what I just said about listing across multiple platforms. Now we're just going to kind of focus on what if you just want to kind of do one platform over the other. All right, let's start off with Amazon first. Well, Amazon, that's fine and dandy, but like I said, price tanking is a big issue with Amazon. And a lot of items you can do seller fulfilled, which I do, to maximize your margins, or you can send it in. But, you know, again, the price tanking is real. The fees ain't going to get no cheaper with Amazon. You can use their small and light program to maximize your profits on smaller items. So you just need a lot of units. You need a lot of units, especially on Amazon. You need to be moving thousands and thousands of units, okay? Walmart's a lot better when it comes to the price tanking thing, but it still happens. Your profits are definitely higher with a lot of items, a lot of the same items that you can sell on Amazon and eBay. That you can do fulfillment by Walmart. That process is a little more janky or whatever than Amazon, of course. But it's my preferred platform at the moment. eBay, you can make if eBay was your sole and only platform, just due to like some of the barriers and you know, challenges you might face due to selling on Walmart or Amazon, and you just like, well, look, I don't want to deal with those. eBay, you can do it on eBay. Here's the thing though, you're gonna need a store that's at least 5,000 or more items, in my opinion. And if you really want to do good, I would say a 10,000 item store would be your target. If you really want to do good, only because and I've said this in other videos, man, a lot of the items that I sell, especially the lower dollar items, they don't move on eBay really. And they're super slow if they move at all. But on Walmart, they not only do they sell, but I'm getting more money. I ain't got to do no promoted listings. So I'm getting more of my money back, and there's more multi-unit, multi-quantity purchases. So people will actually shop for these things on Walmart, right? They might get more than one of the same type of item, or they might mix and match and get different types of items. So that means, like, even if the item's selling for $5, $6, $7, that's fine as an average sell price, because my average ticket price is going to be $12 to $20 somewhere. And I know that's kind of a big thing, but it really is though. It's like $12 to $20 or more, because of the fact that people will buy more than one thing at a time. And so that's how you kind of got to survive. And if you selling on eBay with their fees and a promoted listing thing and stuff like that, man, you're going to have to, like, you're going to live or die by people. You're going to need people to buy more than one item. And eBay anyway is a numbers game, as far as like having thousands. You can have way less items on Walmart than eBay and make way more money and move your inventory way faster. But the majority of you guys are not going to be selling on Walmart. So we're going to focus on eBay, because most of y'all can sell on eBay. If you want to have a full-time living selling on eBay in this category, unless you can get access to the higher dollar, you know, items, which if you're starting out, that might be a little more difficult, you're going to have thousands of units. There's just no way around it. Now, I've seen stores on there that have about 3,000, 4,000, but I see the types of items they sell too. And so with those types of items, I think they're probably doing pretty good, but they've been in the game for a while too. And you can tell that. Look, you're not going to do it buying like lots from Wholesale Ninjas or something like that. It's just not going to happen. One thing you're going to need is a reseller's license, so you can start getting product from other types of distributors or just wholesalers. But the ones that everybody can get access to, those are the very items that you don't really want to have to, like, you don't want that to be your sole means of sourcing, because everybody got it. And then you're really going to need thousands of units, because you're going to want to take up the market share from the other people that's out there that's in the end that's tanking the price on all those items anyway. And so when it comes to eBay, Walmart, Amazon, let's just focus on eBay. To make a comfortable living, I feel like, it's my opinion, you got to have at least a 5,000 to 10,000 unit store. And I think you'll be good doing that, which means storage. But you could easily store 5 to 10,000 units in a storage unit, like the size of the one I got. And if you organize, it won't be that hard. You'll probably have to hire a shipper because you're going to be shipping out a lot of items, but you can do it. And you can make a decent living doing it, man. But you can't do it with like 1,000 or 2 items. You can make some extra dollars for sure. You know, you can make a nice little extra. It could be a nice little side hustle. But we're talking about full time. Full time, you know, a couple thousand units, unless your average sell price is in that $20+ range, you're gonna be having a hard time. And it's hard to source those types of items on a regular, only those types of items. It takes time to do. And I ain't saying you can't, but it does take time. And so that's just something you need to know. Which takes me to another point that I had wrote down was, you know, the type of model, your everyday items as opposed to your high-end items. And I kind of already went over that, which is related to sourcing. And when it comes to those high-end items, you got to be careful. Like I said, if you want to sell high-end items, you better be getting them from a reputable distributor, and you better keep well-organized files, you know. Even if you sourcing retail arbitrage, which on the higher end side, be hard to get those items retail arbitrage at a price that you can find profitable for yourself to flip. But, you know, starting out, man, it's going to be hard for you anyway. And so the model you're going to be focusing on are your everyday items that you can get from most wholesalers. You're just going to have to buy a lot of it. You're going to have to churn. It's all churn and burn. You're not looking to the whole stuff for a long time. Here's another thing that people fail to realize is that if your average sell price is $20, $30, $40, $50, you can afford to wait. If your average sell price is $8 to $12, maybe $15, you can't afford to wait that long. You want stuff to be moving, right? Like my thing is with most of this stuff, after a year, I'm getting rid of it because what good is it going to do me after a year? Right? After, like, if you got shirts and stuff and pants and clothes and things like that, yeah, you might wait longer than a year, even though I still wouldn't, honestly. But, and plus most of this stuff after a year, depending on what type of makeup or whatever it is, it probably might not be that good anyway, because ain't no telling how long the wholesaler in them had it and what type of environment they had it sitting in. So, you know, you might end up with some customer service issues anyway. But the model you would be looking for initially is churn and burn, getting as much as you can, putting as much up as you can, selling it as fast as you can, and getting that money back. Cash flow. Remember that 2 words, right? Cash flow. And the only way, and cash reserve. Cash flow and cash reserve. And when you have a lower average sell price, it takes more cash flow to build up a bigger cash reserve. You got to have the cash flowing. You got to have those profits coming back so that you can reinvest, so that you can cover increase in expenses, so that you can cover bad buys. And in order to have money in reserve for any issues or just whatever, right? Or maybe you come across a really big purchase, right? But you might not have the money to make that purchase. These are all things you have to consider, especially if this is going to be your full-time business model, okay? And it is a lot more work, but listen, I did restaurants for 10 years. I'll do this any day over that. And then I kind of just going over my direction. So I'll deal with the smaller dollar items, especially, you know, because I can sell on platforms like Walmart. But I know this, if all I had was eBay, I would be fine, but I would know this. I have to have my goal, my personal goal, if only eBay was my only platform, would be a 5,000 to 10,000 unit store. That would be the only way I can make the type of money that I want to make, you know, to live comfortably and take care of my family and stuff. I would be looking for a 5,000 to 10,000 unit item store. But I will also be always trying to increase the average sale price and find items that I can sell at a higher average sale price, of course. But I will probably also be looking to sell in some other categories, but items that I could sell at a higher average sell price, right? And so, because I've even considered like doing some electronics, mixing those in, but then I'm like, well, if I do that, and especially because of like the higher return rate and just some of the issues you run into, I'm not trying to do low dollar amount electronics. That's a whole other business model. That's a whole other business model with a bunch of other types of issues. And so I'm not trying to like add to my problems. I'm not trying to add to my workload, add more customer service issues. Then you got to test the stuff like things like, so no, you got to be kind of smart about it and strategic about what you're going to do, what you're going to add. And you want to kind of like do it little by little. So if something does go wrong or something doesn't work out, you don't take a lot of your capital and move it to this. And now this ain't even working. You know what I mean? So if you do it kind of like on an item by item basis, then if it goes wrong, you can kind of absorb that mistake. But if it works out, then you can build on that. So you always want to be kind of like, you want to set the foundation. And that's what I'm doing. I'm setting my foundation. But from this foundation, I want to build other rooms onto my house, right? I want to build the house. I got the shell of my house. I got the foundation, the shell, and the walls and things. And now I want to add floors and rooms and layers to the house that I'm building. And so that's a step-by-step process, because if you move too quickly, you can kind of get yourself in a bind that you may not be able to recover from, or might be very difficult to recover from. And so I'm building it to where I got my bread and butter items. I'll sell all the smaller dollar amount units, but I'm adding higher average sell price units. I'm always looking for other sources, and I'm always testing out things to see what works best. Always work on my systems. I'm always working on my inventory systems, my shipping systems, and just always evaluating things, in the direction that I'm going and what type of items I want to sell. But if I was just doing eBay, it would have to be 5,000 to 10,000 units, items, period. 5,000 to 10,000 units, no. 5,000 to 10,000 item store, let's put it that way. Because I can have multiple units of one type of item, right? So yeah, that makes more sense. It will have to be a 5,000 to 10,000 item store. And I would want to dominate that space. I would want to dominate that space in the sense that I would look at the other competitors and I would look at their customer service, and I would make sure my customer service was better. I would look at their items, and while I might not be able to get every single type of item they got, I would see kind of like what they're selling, and what's doing good for them, and see if I can get that, of course. And I would want to have more units, I would want to have more items in my store than them, more options for my buyers. I would want to have more options for my buyers. And there's just a flexibility in quantity that you have over a competitor that doesn't have that flexibility in quantity, right? It's the same thing with like cash. If you got good cash flow and you got some cash reserves and you just got a larger quantity and more options, you're more flexible as a business. And you can absorb more, and there's just more options for you as a business than there would be for the person who doesn't have that at all. Okay. Look like this video is getting around like the 40-minute mark. And look, guys, there's a lot of stuff I didn't go into. So please, if you have questions, ask them down below and I'll answer them for you. So like, here's another thing too. Even like you have to consider, because this is for any business model now, not just this. If your average sell price is lower, everything that you do matters when it comes to cost. Okay. So one of the things I'm doing now, how can I get my supplies at a cheaper cost? I'm always looking for ways to get free supplies. Always, man. I go to my UPS store. I go to everywhere, and I just let people know. So packing, it's hard to get like some of the boxes sizes I need, and some of the envelopes, of course, I just have to buy those. A lot of the packing supplies I can get for free though. And plus, presentation is everything. And I'm not the type of person that sends my customers I'm not sending nothing in a cereal box, guys. Like, I'm not doing that, right? I'm not going to send my customers something that looks like crap. Just not doing it. Presentation is everything. And it can mean the difference between you getting good or bad feedback. But as many free supplies as I can. But other than that, I'm always looking for ways that I can buy in bulk to drive those costs down, because And this isn't just with business models who have smarter margins. This could be any business model. I feel like a lot of people only focus on your average sale price, right? Well, I got a higher average sale price, so I'm doing really good. But they don't focus on their expenses. And yeah, you can have a higher average sale price than the next man, and revenue wise, from your top line revenue, that could be looking real good, right? You can have a really, really good top line revenue, but your bottom line revenue, that other person, look, your average sale price could be $40, right? And let's just say for the year, you do $200,000 in sales with an average sale price of $40. The next person has an average sale price of, let's say, $15, right? You got 40, they got 15, you doing 200,000 in revenue. Let's say they doing 150. So boom. Of course, they got to sell way more than you to get that 150. You got 200, so you sold more than them, you brought in more top line revenue, but their bottom line, they could still beat you out if they run a very lean business. They could still beat you out. That's possible. And those numbers might be kind of crazy. I don't know. I just kind of throwing something out there, but my main point is that you could have a higher top line revenue than the next man, and it might look better, but their bottom line, they could be bringing in more net revenue, more bottom line revenue than you. You could actually be losing money and not really making no money if you don't pay attention. And so I think this is one of the good things about running a business model that has smaller margins, is that you have to find ways to lean out your business. And I'm not saying be cheap and offer a bad customer experience like I see some of these sellers do, man. I'm just like, dude, I don't know. I get it, but it's just not for me. It's just not for me. But still, I'm always trying to find ways to make cuts. And so whether that be in supplies, whether that be in software that I thought I needed, but I don't need, look, every penny counts, especially when your profit margins are smaller. Every penny counts. And so if you're not good at that, if you're not a person who at least has a basic understanding of your numbers or how to read a basic like P&L, then this won't be the model for you either, because I guarantee you, if you don't pay attention to your numbers, if you don't pay attention to where your money is going, you could be losing money, man. And you can be losing it fast, and you can be doing all that work for nothing. And I guarantee you there's sellers out there who can tout their average sale price as being, 30, 40, $50. But if you was to evaluate their business, it probably is not doing as good as they think it is. And there's going to be ways that they can even improve that and make more money. But people think just because they're bringing in a lot per sale per unit, that means everything is all good. And that's not the case, because maybe they spending a lot of money on supplies. Maybe they spending money on softwares they don't need. Maybe they got a lot of overhead. I don't know. There could be a lot of factors that go into it. You got to look at a person's P&L to, figure that out. But the thing is that I know a lot of people don't do that. But if they did, that would give them a lot more, first of all, a deeper understanding of their business. And I don't know how you can say you're running a business if you don't have at least a basic P&L and you understanding it and you're making your decisions based on that information from your P&L. Even comparing quarter to quarter. Like me, I just looked at my first quarter numbers this year compared to my last quarter numbers, right? And some of my expenses are higher, but it makes sense because my sales are up. I'm doing more in sales. So I'm okay with that. So I don't really count that. My net profit is still up. But I'm always comparing that just to see where I'm at, because I have a goal that I'm trying to reach for this year. So I need to be a certain percentage ahead of last year, which right now I'm not there, but I'm not panicking because I know, we're going into summer. As long as overall I'm over last year, I'm not going to worry about it. And I'm setting myself up to go into fourth quarter, and try to get that sales boost there. So we'll kind of see. It would be worse if I'm doing more sales and stuff in the first quarter of this year compared to last year, but my profit was less than last year, then we would have a problem, right? Then we have a problem. But I see some areas where I can improve in, that I'm going to try to improve in and try to squeeze out as much as I can. And one of my areas is supplies. I can only do so much without sacrificing, my customer experience, which I'm not willing to do, but I'm going to do what I can with that. So kind of going off on a tangent there, guys. But know your numbers. Try to learn how to read a P&L, at least a basic one. If you guys got any questions, please put it below. But to answer the question finally, or to answer the question again, yeah, you can make a full-time living selling health and beauty. I just think a lot of people don't understand what it takes to make a full-time living selling health and beauty at all. And it does take work. It does take time. And it takes volume. It does take volume, man. You're not just going to get hooked up with the higher selling brands and be able to move those quantities and not run into some issues eventually. You're going to have to be willing to do the bread and butter items and just to sell thousands of units and set your business up and be organized and be willing to put the work in on a daily basis, to always be looking, to keep an eye on your numbers, to know where you can make some cuts, where you can't, and to just realize that I need my units to turn over, and I need to be able to make sure that I have a cash reserve. So when something does pop up, you can make that purchase and run it like a business. Run it like a business. Now, look, honestly, even if you was doing it as just a side hustle, because you got to still know your numbers. I just can't stress that enough. You have to know your numbers, man. Even as a side hustle, you got to know your numbers, especially with this, because your average sell price is just not going to be as high as some other categories. It's just not. And if you ain't keeping an eye on those numbers, then you might be doing it all for nothing. But I love it, dude. I love it. I love it, though. And I just understand what it takes at this point. And now once you get that foundation, like I feel like I got that foundation after doing this for a couple years, I'm building on that. And then I can start looking at some other areas and some other types of items that I might want to sell, but you won't know a lot of these things just starting off. And yeah, you can watch YouTube videos and there's some good information out there. I don't see many YouTube sellers or YouTube resellers that do exclusively health and beauty as their model, talking about it. I know Lindy used to. It was exclusive health and beauty. But even when I was looking at her numbers, like a lot of her revenue, she make a lot of money off YouTube too. Like she get a lot of YouTube money, man. And so just looking at her numbers that she used to show in some of her videos, I mean, it was all right, but if it was me and I was doing this full time only on eBay, that wouldn't work for me. That wouldn't work for me, especially with the stuff even with the stuff she was getting from like Wholesale Ninjas personally. And this ain't to talk negative about her or nothing like that. So please don't take it that way. I'm not saying that. I'm just giving y'all my objective opinion as far as that model goes and the YouTubers that I see who talked about it or talk about it, which most people are in the clothing, doing thrifting and things like that, which is fine and dandy. I'm talking about specifically health and beauty. Most of the people you don't see talking about it because most of them are not making a full-time living off of it. Right? Not saying there's nobody that's not making a full-time living. I'm just saying not the ones that are the ones that's making YouTube videos. And when I look at the ones that's doing it, I ain't gonna say they ain't doing it right, but I mean, I don't want to give y'all the wrong impression. Again, like a lot of Lindy's videos, I saw like my revenue will have to be higher than that because I would, just doing it full time. If you don't have YouTube revenue or nothing like that, if you ain't got no other monies coming in, those numbers will have to probably double or triple that, man. In order to double or triple that, especially if eBay was your only platform, I'm telling you, you're going to need a 5,000 to 10,000 item store. I'm telling you, that's my opinion, but I think it's a good opinion. And if you don't believe me, try it out and see. Do full time, strictly health, beauty, and makeup, and see what it takes to make a comfortable living full time on eBay. Then come back and talk to me, okay? But, you know, now if you're going to branch out to other platforms like Amazon and Walmart, it's still going to take thousands of units. I don't even care what you say. It's still going to take a lot more than a lot of people make it seem. It's cool to do a video, unboxing video. I got this stuff from here, Wholesale Ninjas, or I got this stuff from this distributor. That's all cool, right? But we ain't talking about that. We talking about making a full-time living. And to make a full-time living requires a whole lot more than what a lot of people talk about. And I'm just trying to go through some of that in this video. And I've made it kind of long. And if you still here, I appreciate you, man. I really do. I hope you learned something. And please, please, please drop any questions you got in the comments and I'll answer them. But just to recap, you got to do volume. Multi-platform is definitely going to be something you're going to want to look into. But if you want to focus on one platform, that's perfectly fine. Just understand what it takes to sell on that platform and to make a full-time living. Regardless of what you do, you're going to have to be organized and systematized, right? You're going to have things in order. You're going to have all your ducks in a row. It takes a lot of work. It takes good sources and it takes some cash flow. You got to decide, are you going to go with the high end or are you going to go with the everyday stuff? But again, going with the high end, especially straight out the gate, there's going to be some issues and risks that you're going to be taking there that I don't think you should be taking, especially as a new person in this game. Or, you know, you just shouldn't take that risk. Don't do it. Start off with the basics. Start off with the everyday stuff that you can get from your average suppliers maybe, and build up your cash flow and your quantities from there maybe, and go from there. Because you start doing the higher end name brands, you're setting yourself up to eventually probably get taken off of one of those platforms unless you can get it direct from manufacturer. Sourcing is important. You got to always be looking for sources. You find a good source, get as much as you can for as long as you can from them. Do not tell nobody about them either. Do not. Trust me. Yeah, that's kind of it, guys. That's kind of it. And that's kind of the direction I'm going. But now I'm just trying to figure out ways to add more layers to my house, more floors, put more rooms into my house. You know what I mean? So that's it. Hope this helped y'all out. Again, please ask me some questions so I can answer them for you. And that's just my humble opinion as far as those things go. You can use this as a good side hustle if you want. You don't got to do this full time, but that wasn't the premise of this video to start with, doing it as a side hustle. That would be a different conversation, right? Because there's some different things that you can do. But full time, you got a family to take care of. Guys, I got 9 kids. Yes, my wife does her thing too. She do child care. But I got 9 kids to take care of, man. And I'm in PA, so like the cost of living here is not that expensive. But I mean, I'm not trying to live. You can't afford to live paycheck to paycheck as a reseller, bro. You can't. You're going to have a hard life. You better off going to get a job. Seriously, you better off going to get a job, man. You have less stress. Trust me, you have less stress. But as a full-time hustle, it's definitely possible. You just got to know what you're doing and you got to be serious about it. You know, you got to be serious. This ain't no mystery box, 200-piece lot type of full-time business. You know, it's more to it than that. But anyway, thank you for listening. Do me a favor, hit that like button. Make sure you subscribe to the channel and hit that notification bell so that you're notified the next time I make another video.